Royal baby fever. It's becoming acute. News outlets have been going crazy preparing for Kate Middleton's birth, and news executives all over the UK have been obsessing over coverage plans for months. This is one of those ritual things, Jack, that just comes anytime the royal family does anything. The British press goes absolutely crazy, and foreign press to some extent.
Right.
What's going on over there?
Well, I mean, first of all, you have just throngs of photographers and press camping outside of the hospital in London where Kate Middleton is due to give birth. She hasn't arrived yet, unless there's, some secret tunnel underneath that we don't know about. But they have just been sitting there waiting, for weeks, really, just hoping to catch a glimpse of her going into that hospital, and then it'll really kick off. Sky News, a British broadcaster, is having a helicopter flying around overhead. There's just going to be hordes of people outside the place where, at Buckingham Palace, they put the notice of the baby's birth up. American networks are flying in their correspondents. People flip out for the royal family. It's one of those, as you said, it's one of those stories that every single time, it just happens all over again. So I think you're going to see the biggest sort of contingent of royal-themed insanity since the royal wedding.
I just don't understand why people care so much. Why does that matter to anybody? I had a friend of mine was at the airport. Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose you can think of them like that. But I think I can't think of any American celebrity whose birth would be as big as this. I mean, my friend of mine was at the airport boarding a flight to London, and apparently the lounge, the first-class lounge, was just packed with journalists all going over. I was seeing some footage of where the photographers and the journalists are stationed outside the hospital, and there are literally ladders of increasing height that they can all stand up. They're literally climbing over each other, quite literally, to get. And I saw something on the Australian press where they're saying the way that we'll know when Kate gets here is that an armed guard will appear outside. So it's almost like a papal thing where you're waiting for the smoke to turn white or something. She's arrived. We know because there's a police officer outside guarding the royal vagina. It's just madness. I don't understand why.
Especially in the United States, the U.S. loves the royal family, possibly in a certain way even more than the Brits do. We're just
a strange
obsessed
infatuation
with them
coming from Australia, where we really have mixed feelings about the royal family, still living under the thumb of the UK a little bit more than you guys do. We certainly get much less caught up in it.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to an NPR report the other day, and a correspondent went over to London and talked to someone who had given just scores of interviews to all of these media outlets, and they said, well, who are you talking to? And he said, 100 to 1, it's American news outlets. The British ones aren't really asking me that many questions, but the American ones are obsessed with this, and they will not stop having me answer questions for them. So I think we're going to just see that played out repeatedly as this goes on.